Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and thanks for joining us for another video. Now, the other day saw spaceflight making the news with Blue Origin's New Shepard Flight 31, which was notable for not only being the first female crew launched in almost 50 years, but also for having some very big names within the crew, such as singer Katy Perry and presenter Gayle King. Now, whilst the New Shepard flights don't actually go into orbit, they do pass the Kármán line at 100 kilometers altitude, which is regarded as making it to space. And it's certainly high enough to see that the Earth isn't flat, which unsurprisingly means that flat earthers immediately begin scouring through the footage of the flight looking for any little details they can find to call the whole thing fake. Because if they can find something that they think shows the flight was faked, then they can justify to their audience not explaining the great big globe that can be seen outside the window. And it didn't take them long to begin claiming that they'd found proof that it was faked.
Hello everyone. I got this information from the Flat Out Truth Resurrection channel, and I wanted to share it with anyone who hasn't seen it because I thought it was pretty funny. Anyways, we're going to skip ahead to after the capsule supposedly parachuted to the ground with his celebrity still inside. The big mistake was that the women inside prematurely opened the capsule and the Blue Origin handler rushed over to the door to tell them to close it. Let's watch.
Out of her mouth, but really her heart.
And is that Jeff Bezos out there right by the capsule? Kind of hard to see.
Then about 2 minutes, 45 seconds later, Jeff Bezos goes up to the capsule with a special tool to unlock the capsule. Let's watch again.
Good? Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Here goes Jeff Bezos to open the hatch.
She didn't really close it again.
As I have said before, if they faked one part of it, then we can rightfully assume they faked all of it.
And posts about this were soon all over social media. It even got picked up by news outlets who did articles about the conspiracies because, you know, it's conspiracies involving celebrities. Now, there seems to be 3 points of contention. The main one that most people are bringing up is the hatch. The fact that the crew opened the hatch and then were made to shut it so that Jeff Bezos could then open it up afterwards and that he needed a tool to do it. The second point is people seem to think that the hatch appears too flimsy for what they envisage a spacecraft hatch should look like. And the third is I've actually seen a couple of people suggest that the capsule looks too clean.
Have absolutely no signs of re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. This is something that the internet is asking. You see there, clean as a whistle, that pod. And this is what a pod looks like when it's, well, returned from space right here. Here's the Dragon X capsule.
When if you look at the likes of the SpaceX Dragon capsules, when they return to Earth, they're all black and charred. So let's tackle the hatch first. The tool that Bezos uses to open the hatch is literally a door handle. When the crew board the capsule, they're already strapped in and checked by the ground crew before the hatch is closed. So the ground crew shut the hatch and lock it from outside, meaning they need a handle on the outside in order to lock the hatch. But the hatch of New Shepard does have a handle on the inside. Emily Candarelli, who was on New Shepard Flight 28 last year, did a video on her YouTube channel, which I will link below, that documents the whole process that she went through. Not just the flight, but also a lot of the training and the preparations as well. And on parts of her video, you can clearly see the inside of the hatch has a large handle fitted to it. Or take Dylan Taylor, who was on New Shepard Flight 19. He has a video on his channel showing the entire Blue Origin flight from the perspective of the interior cameras. And you can see, as they're boarding, the ground crew are in the capsule with them as they're getting strapped in, and the ground crew are the ones that shut the hatch, and they lock it from the outside. Now, as the hatch is being closed, you can see the internal handle is raised. Once the hatch is closed and it's locked, the handle is in the down position. So that handle that Bezos uses to open the hatch simply just connects to the same locking mechanism but on the opposite side of where the internal handle is, meaning the crew have the ability to open the hatch from the inside. It's just standard procedure that the ground crew open the hatch. On all the other New Shepard flights that I've checked, when they show the hatch being opened, it's always someone who stayed on the ground that opens the hatch. In terms of why they were made to shut the door in this instance, I suspect the reality is publicity. That they wanted the photo opportunity of Bezos opening the hatch rather than the crew just letting themselves out. Likely, the crew are only really supposed to open the hatch themselves from the inside if there's an emergency. They did basically the same thing on Apollo. The crew could open the command module hatch from the inside, and they did so during spacewalks, but the initial boarding, the pad ground staff shut and locked the hatch because the astronauts were already strapped into the seats, and after splashdown, it was the recovery divers that opened the hatch, not the astronauts. As regards to the hatch appearing too flimsy for a spacecraft, you can see from the interior shots when the door is being closed, that door is actually pretty thick metal. And you can see that it's shaped. It's bigger on the inside than it is towards the outside, and the frame of the spacecraft is shaped accordingly. Meaning that when it's pressurized during flight, the internal pressure is pushing the door shut. But for the door to fail and fly out into space, it would literally have to fold itself in half. As for how much pressure such a door can handle, considering that at most the internal pressure of the capsule is 14.7 psi, when in space the outside pressure is 0 psi, meaning that hatch, which is several inches thick, has to withstand less than a 15 psi pressure difference. Now, a typical fizzy drinks can withstand more than 3 times that amount of pressure. Yet you don't typically see those things spontaneously exploding. And finally, in terms of why the capsule appears so clean, if you look at SpaceX capsules when they come back to Earth, they're all blackened and charred. If you look at Apollo or the Space Shuttle when they return to Earth, huge streaks of flames coming out the back of it. Why wasn't there any of that on New Shepard? Well, the simple fact is speed. When those craft are coming back to Earth, they're coming from orbit. Now, to be in orbit, you have to be traveling at 17,500 miles an hour, which means they hit the atmosphere at 17,500 miles an hour. This creates a huge amount of drag, but also a large amount of heat, hence the flames of reentry. New Shepard, by comparison, didn't do that. From the moment the capsule detached from the booster, it was slowing down gradually. So they really hit the atmosphere from a standstill, not 17,000 miles an hour. Hence, there was no buildup of heat and thus no charring. So people can carry on arguing the semantics about whether this flight was necessary or whether it was just a PR stunt. Do these women actually constitute astronauts now or not? But in terms of the argument about whether the flight actually happened or whether it was faked, seems there's no actual evidence it was faked, merely people's misunderstandings about how spaceflight works. So, that is going to be it for this video. As always, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't already done so, then please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and then hopefully, we'll see you in the next video.